Hey guys, Kevin Cage here. Be sure to like and subscribe and listen up. I want to respect your time, so if I'm speaking too slow, put it on 2x playback speed, but I'll try to speed through this info as always. So I want to talk about Task Group. Of course, this document dated back to 2015. You can find it with the simple Task Group Ripple Google search, and we know right here, Task Group, they are a network gateway, and of course 40 plus banks through ISO standard, all of this. And this is talking about, on the low end, we're talking $50 million every 3 seconds moving. At the heart of the European Target 2 and T2S RTGS systems from the very start. The Target 2 securities and the real-time gross settlement systems. We know XRP's role in this potentially, even if it is just for the most illiquid corridors starting off. All right. So what do we know before going into depth and detail? We know that Target 2 systems actually failed. That payment inefficiency shows the systemic risk and the centralized inefficiencies of the current system. We need redundancy. It will be going more distributed. We also know that COVID, since the beginning of the year, has shown how inefficient the payment system is today. The stimulus check taking months to get to people. This is the recipe for a perfect storm. So what do we know? Well, Q4, end of year, elections are next week. We have geopolitical, overall the results. We have geopolitical tensions globally. We have the unbanked and underbanked populations of roughly 3.7 billion people altogether. We have private sector, fintech, behemoths threatening tier 1 banks. We have giant IPOs like Ant. And obviously this is a behemoth raising $35 billion essentially dollars, valuing over $300 billion in the biggest IPO of all time. We also know Goldman Sachs' involvement. We know JP Morgan's involvement with strategic investments in other groups, which we talked about recently. So all I'm saying is keep an open mind, expect the unexpected, because I think chaos is about to occur, whether it is a pump or a dump. And this is talking about overall markets as well. So we have also futures market volatility on the rise. We have higher level of demand for institutional clients going digital, of course, but specifically interested and involved in digital assets, crypto assets, DLT. We have higher levels of inflation. US dollar reserve status is threatened. We know the BRICS nations as well. The DXY, the US dollar index, seems to be in a very interesting place. And we also know that US banks, for the first time in history, can hold cryptocurrency. We also know the Volcker rule changes as well, regarding private funds and hedge funds being able to invest in these types of assets, and on and on and on. And I'm sure you guys can comment down below a plethora of other reasons of why we are in a very interesting point in time. All right, so there's so much going on. I want to talk about CBDCs. I want to talk about XRP's role. Just saying, we cannot rule anything out. That's all I want to say, up or down or sideways. We also know that the United Kingdom recently, the FCA, which deemed XRP to have non-security-like attributes, recently banned the sale of crypto derivatives to the retail market. Very telling as well. So, of course, we can talk about this task group. I've shown this many, many times over the years. And now right here we see, just a bunch of groups, over 400 experts, 20 countries. And this is back in 2019. I believe this is a Sibos presentation. We're at in London, of course. So 70% of market coverage. You guys can go through all of this in SEPA. Notice, of course, partnerships with KPMG, which is, of course, one of the big four. We were talking about them in depth and detail recently, either last video or the video before that. And Accenture, they have their hand in everybody's cookie jar, an early Ripple investor. All right, also involved in digital dollar projects, also involved with R3 and Corda, CBDC types of piloting with groups, R3, Swift, should be no surprise, okay? So just wanted to touch on that. Notice 40 banks, as I referenced, in Italy, Germany, Spain, UK, and Switzerland. So definitely a behemoth. You guys should be paying close attention to this. And also, I think we've talked about this before, if you guys remember, Aquarius liquidity management system. Funny enough, we're entering into the age of Aquarius, and not even to get out there because I know you'll roll your eyes, but it's funny because, Ripple, the company itself, is all, really focused on liquidity and this type of water theme. Notice Ripple X, we have the terms X Pool back in the day, X Rapid. Now it's on-demand liquidity. We have their annual event called Swell. I think you guys know there's plenty of more coincidences. All right, so just wanted to point that out. Now, let's talk about this. So we know Task Group, of course, in the view of this ISO20022 migration. Funny enough, remember we showed Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, do that recent video. I just reshared it from April 2020 of them being one of the founding members of INATBA. And of course, many groups there, and they're also involved in Mobi, just like a variety of other projects. All right, so right here, this draws even more attention towards something with less centralized and systemic risk. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be RippleNet 100% by any means. What I'm saying is that this is pointing towards digitalization and DLT adoption. All right, so right here, we noticed Target 2, and this is shared by King Solomon, guys. He did a great video covering this. Highly recommend checking it out. Target 2 experiences total system failure, SEPA payments delayed. The ECB, guys, the entire Eurosystem. A complete failure of all payment transactions within the Target 2 system was experienced for several hours on Friday, with backup systems and contingency modules also initially unable to function. I cannot tell you how big this is in the implications of this. I think this is funny too. We got Lionel, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Nothing to see here. Please disperse. This is chaotic, guys. I don't think people understand the ramifications of liquidity issues, let alone system failures altogether. This is going to be pushing banks and all of these groups to paying attention to alternatives. All right. And whether you believe technically with the technicals of the ledger being halted or delayed years ago, we're still looking at 58 million ledgers closed by Ripple without error, depending on how you look at it. All right. Also, wanted to give a quick shout out to I Am Legion. Thought this thread was amazing. Also regarding JP Morgan manipulating cryptocurrency. We wouldn't do that. Sarcastically speaking, of course, we have the Trump administration pop the 2017 Bitcoin bubble, the ex-CFTC chairman says. We also have, of course, JP Morgan settling for undisclosed amounts, getting slapped on the wrist with fines. But of course, deep down, they're probably ending up profitable regardless, even foreign exchange markets. We can talk about treasuries. We can talk about the gold markets. It's never ending. I'm sure if you guys are in the ecosystem or, have a background in banking, you're well aware of all this. Just wanted to point it out and just understand the market, the world that we see it is often stranger than fiction. So things are not that simple. It's not like the market just goes straight up forever and moons because we have an election coming up. It's a bit too obvious to think like that. And of course, if you base it off of historical data and things like that, I completely respect it. But just to go off of your feelings, I've gotten burned and I don't recommend doing so. All right. And also, I did see C3 Nick post this analogy, and I've seen it many times before regarding market movements as a whole. It can be stairs on the way up, creating, higher highs, but on the way down, sometimes they're just an elevator, just going straight down, just boom, boom, boom. And it happens so quick that many people don't get out. So just be aware of what's happening and obviously be ready to make moves accordingly. All right. So I wanted to show this before going into the depth with Ripple and XRP with me. So pretty cool. We have artificial intelligence watching a traffic cam right here, Internet of Things, big data, machine learning, AI, machine logic as well. And I thought this was really, really interesting. So check this out. It literally names the car, sees the plate, sees the color, sees, so many types of scores as well. And when you have something that can be autonomous and start learning and building off it, we also know FET, the cryptocurrency FET, Fetch AI, is part of Mobi, that type of mobile initiative that Ripple is part of as well. And IOTA and a plethora of other groups like BMW, Ford, GM, a lot of car makers as well. So keep in mind, we are just beginning with this. And if you guys see all of this and understand what AI is capable of, please just understand that this is the same thing that occurs within the trading market. There's not actual, bulls and bears pushing this market. This is truly ran by trading bots, whales, and AI, period. All right. You guys can think whatever you want, but that is just the facts of the matter. All right, now I want to talk about this. So right here, Ripple Insights, this old article, 9 million Americans are still waiting for their first $1,200 payment check to arrive in the mail. The inability of our existing financial infrastructure to respond quickly and effectively to an emergency like COVID has prompted a fresh debate about how innovations like digital currencies could help. It's so funny looking back in the past and seeing how far we've come each and every time. And I just want to touch on this. Right here, bridging the gaps between a range of solutions, talking about CBDCs as well. And we know what happened with the Bahamas launching as well successfully. It will be critical to bridge the gaps between the various central bank digital currency initiatives with existing payment systems as well as other digital currencies to ensure they are successful on a global scale. And of course, if you guys are in the ecosystem, you understand CBDCs are not XRP killers. If anything, they complement each other. One side can improve the domestic aspect or, a different part of the settlements, and XRP is that neutral asset. I saw also Panos on Twitter posting some great screenshots and also posted this article and just sharing, saying CBDCs could also simplify and reduce the cost of payments and remittances, of course. But in order to improve cross-border payments and remittances, more is needed to be done than just a simple CBDC. Enters XRP. The CBDC is still an IOU, guys. It's still an actual liability. Hence, XRP being that neutral bridge asset, open sourced project entirely, is needed really to make cross-border money transfers effective, efficient, etc. And also, we know it can reduce, even eliminate the pre-funded accounts, the Nostra Vostra holdings, the need to, essentially without the need to banks to hold foreign currencies, a basket of different foreign currencies in a variety of accounts. What I like to call is just in case money, because they don't have on-demand liquidity on demand. All right. So just wanted to mention that. And right here, so WordPress actually, just Cointelegraph sharing this, and I already went through this, but a WordPress plugin actually is allowing publishers to timestamp content on Ethereum for immutability and copyright protection. And yes, I know Ethereum's shortcomings, but I am a fan overall and grateful for Ethereum, and I think it's here to stay, provided it can pivot correctly, all right? There are hundreds of thousands of projects on Ethereum. It disappearing entirely, I think would be harder, specifically because it has classification, and there are just a lot of wealthy people building on this as well. All right, and there's great projects that are even agnostic but are ERC20 tokens for the time being. All right, and also remember we did that Algorand review, and we know that Algorand was building things for copyright protection as well. So in other news, just to touch on Algo, we have this group. This is liquidity.digital. Notice, digitize, securitize, capitalize, a regulatory compliant digital ecosystem for private capital markets. And they just announced a partnership with Algorand. What are they building specifically? We have issuance platforms, syndication platforms, and post-issuance platforms. Very cool, all right? And explaining why they chose Algorand. You guys can read more about this. And of course, we know the background. So Algorand Foundation and Liquidity Digital are teaming up. Very exciting, all right? Next, so just regarding the Zero Hedge article, guys, even if you, don't think, UBI is ever going to be a thing in the future or debt forgiveness is going to be a thing, this is just a Zero Hedge article. We also have to understand that all of the printing is resulting in massive, massive inflation. All right. And we'll touch on that, and we'll talk a little bit about how much the Fed has printed in recent years. And also just to touch on Algo, which I believe is a great asset and a great project in the years to come. And I think it will really flourish as well. Not financial advice, one man's opinion here, but we know there's 300 plus, probably 400 plus, projects essentially working on Algorand right now. And of course, even more. And just like assets like XRP and all the SDKs or QNT with this simple coding, they are literally making it as simple as possible to code and create decentralized or distributed applications, dApps, as easily as possible. So again, opening the doors and bridging to the Ethereum network as well, so more ETH developers or even more ETH projects can run on Algo. All right, we know USDC, we know a variety of others, but very exciting to see that. Also, we talked about wrapped Algo as well, just like we mentioned wrapped Bitcoin the other day. All right, right here. So Alibaba founder Jack Ma, digital currencies are the future. So he did have this speech the other day, and notice he said digital currency cloud could create value during a speech yesterday. Just wanted to touch on that. Of course, we know we already talked about the huge Ant Group raising billions. All right. Right here, Ant Group, affiliate of Alibaba. We can also talk about Tencent, WeChat, all of these behemoths throughout China. Now, this is shared by Status, guys. Definite follow, and also check out his website, status.hr. He makes XRP infographics, crypto infographics, a great source for information as well. So we have right here, the Federal Reserve pumped $9 trillion in just 1 year. That's more money in 1 year than in 2 centuries of US dollar creation. And this is all according to, again, Robert Kiyosaki. You guys know him. I've read several books by him. Essentially, you get the gist after you read probably 2 of his books. All right. Very interesting. Just wanted to share that. Obviously, we've seen Status's infographics regarding, XRP and how many, each person could hold in the world. Just wanted to share. All right. So I think we can call it a day, guys. I just wanted to talk about, Target 2, systems failure. We know their connections with Task Group and Ripple. We also know KPMG, Accenture, the ISO framework. And obviously, I kind of went through this document earlier. Big things are coming. And I'm not going to pretend to say that XRP is going to be the one asset in the world that's going to solve every problem. That's impossible. There's going to be a variety of crypto assets. And provided that you hedge your bet, do your own research, Base your studies and fundamentals and not emotions. I think that with a good blanket strategy, you can walk away with life-changing wealth, and that's exactly what I plan to do. So I'm going to continue sharing this news, giving you my 2 cents as this world keeps changing. And just like I said, this was Sibos back in September 2019. And also just keep in mind, guys, a CBDC is still a liability, a mere IOU, and we need to focus on settling via the payment stack. Also, I just want to touch on this really quick. So if you just type in Notch and Ripple, we can go right here to the Ripple Insights as well. You can go to notch.org as well. Right here, guys, this is what I'm referring to, the settlement infrastructure. Here's a payment stack today and Ripple today. XRP would be the settlement infrastructure, the invisible part of this protocol. Keep that in mind, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. Be sure to share, like this video, and I will see you in the next one.